Hi, this is Amber Laura from LitlyBear.com. Today I'm going to read to you from excerpts from the first chapter of one of the web serials I offer for free at my website, LitlyBear.com. This particular series is called North of Happenstance. Kate McDonald looked up from the newspaper in her hand to the house in front of her. According to the rental ad, the two-bedroom, one-bathroom residence located at 257 Evelyn Avenue had a semi-furnished basement, a fireplace in the rustic, high-vaulted living room, and a modernized kitchen. She narrowed her eyes. The price was a steal. She'd paid more for her 750-square-foot loft in Minneapolis. Welcome to Wesley, Connecticut. Rolling the newspaper up and sticking it in her back pocket, she climbed the stairs to the front door. It was painted red. She might as well give it a look, despite vague doubts. Just what exactly did they mean by modernized? Mrs. McDonald, she heard as the door ahead of her swung open, revealing a middle-aged woman with upswept blonde hair. Miss McDonald, Kate corrected quickly, holding out her hand to greet the realtor, who she recognized from the advertisement's accompanying picture. "Pardon me, Miss McDonald," she said with a smile, her arm guiding Kate through the threshold and onto the split entryway landing. Gray speckled rubber tile met her feet. It was far from appealing, and the wood-paneled walls screamed 80s chic, or something. Kate's fears confirmed, the word modernization had been stretched to its furthest limit. To be sure, it wasn't love at first sight. Kate listened with half an ear as the woman prattled on. This, she was told, opened onto the mudroom, situated 2 steps up and to the right. From her vantage point, Kate saw it was composed of the same material design. Mentally reclassifying it as the vestibule, Kate considered that, given a couple rugs, some fresh paint, and maybe a potted plant or two, and the room would be almost charming. "Shall we start?" the realtor asked, while simultaneously shoving a glossy pamphlet in Kate's hand. It didn't appear there was any other option. "Sure, why not?" she said with a shrug. How much worse could the building get? 2 hours later, sitting in a nearby coffee shop, she couldn't remember its name, something kitschy like Bean Temptations or something. Kate wasn't entirely convinced she hadn't just made a year-long mistake. The beginnings of a headache beat at the edges of her temples. It was done. The decision made. Official. The contract binding. The pressure against her sinuses grew at the thought. It probably didn't help any that she was sitting in a room crowded with strangers, anonymous conversations floating overhead. Still, her decision to stop at the local cafe had been deliberate. She was suddenly desirous to get better acquainted with the town and the people within it. She'd thought the public place might help calm her nerves, though on second thought, caffeine may not have been a wise choice. After all, she would soon live here too. She'd signed the lease agreement. She was the tenant, for another 12 months, give or take. Certainly, the rest of her tour with the realtor, whose name she later learned was Kathy, proved as underwhelming. Admittedly, the kitchen was large, with solid oak cupboards bordering 3/4 of the walls, but unfortunately, they were also painted a soft peach color and offset by red tiled countertops. Still, the pine-covered flooring was open, and the bay window, tucked in an alcove where Kate pictured a dining room table would sit, brought in a lot of natural light. Of course, it also brought in an imposing view of the neighbor's lawn and possible goings-on, but one couldn't have everything. So the house wasn't anything to write home about, especially not to Kate's family home, but she figured it was good enough, for now anyway. Besides, she needed a place. The hotel she'd been staying at the past couple of days smelled kind of moldy, and the elevator made an unnerving squeal every time it carted her up and down from her third-story room. Classes started next week, and she didn't want any distractions or unknowns. It had been 5 years since she'd last seen the light of a classroom. She was twitchy with her nervousness. She needed a place to call home, a place of consistency, even if it was only temporary. Pocketing her keys, Kate nodded her head decisively. The house on Evelyn Avenue it was. Too much of that and you'll give yourself a headache. Kate's head snapped back at the unexpected and unsolicited advice coming so close to her left ear. Looking up, she encountered a pair of striking blue eyes staring back down at her. Above them, sitting high on the stranger's head, was a beehive of dark curls, the monotony of which was broken only by the addition of a bejeweled headscarf, wrapped in the form of a bow. The owner of these features appeared to be near Kate's age, perhaps a little older, maybe early 30s? Huh? A festively painted fingernail tapped a rhythmic tattoo against the papers clutched in Kate's hand. You're staring pretty hard. It'll give you a headache. Or worse, wrinkles. What is it anyway? Kate felt those eyes peering heavily over her shoulder. A rental lease? Carefully placing the stapled contract back down on the table, face first, Kate answered this more or less rhetorical question. Yep. She hoped her show of brevity would convince this newcomer it was a private, personal matter. You're new in town, right? To Kate it sounded like another statement. I hope you don't mind, but curiosity is my profession, the person continued, pulling out the chair opposite Kate and taking a seat. The spot isn't taken? No, go ahead, Kate reassured. It was probably too late to say anything else anyway. I'm Madam Penny, the town psychic, the woman said at last. Holding out a hand expectantly, Kate shook it. I'm Kate MacDonald. Yes, I know. At this frankly curious look, Madam Penny went on. No, I didn't channel my intuitive senses. Nah, I've noticed you around town the last couple of days. It's not very often leggy blondes with ridiculously clear skin come into town, especially when they're housing enough baggage to outfit an entire orphanage. Do those things even still exist? Never mind. What was I saying? Oh, yes, your name. Well, I saw you in here today, she said, waving her hand around the coffee shop. So I asked Jenny, and she told me. Who's Jenny? Kate asked. The barista, Penny said. How'd she know my name? It's on your credit card, Penny told her, a touch impatiently now. Kate nodded her head, all the while making a mental note to pay with cash from now on. The town's population sign claimed that 9,000 people lived there. Kate was starting to have some serious reservations about that math, though. So you're a psychic? Kate asked, latching onto that piece of information belatedly. She hoped it sounded conversational. She'd never met someone of that profession, at least not someone so vocal about it. Besides, she didn't have any other talking points ready at hand. She hadn't counted on actually meeting any of the townsfolk yet. Madam Penny waved away the question as if it were a gnat to be shooed by the flick of her wrist. Why Wesley? She asked instead, leaning her elbows against the table, her head propped up against her open palms. What? Penny made a face. You'll have to excuse me, it's just no one moves to Wesley. It's a small town in the middle of nowhere. Besides Bailey's Park, there's little here to draw visitors, and even then it's just for a Sunday afternoon picnic. The town is made up of lifers, those who never saw the chance to escape and have since resigned themselves to its ghostly appearance. You aren't one of them, which begs the question, why move here? She asked, pointing one of those cat-like nails at Kate's face. What gives? Leaning forward as far as the tabletop would allow, she pitched her ears eagerly in the direction of Kate's mouth, determined not to miss a word of this. Kate let her chair scoot back a little, trying to be unobtrusive. Madam Penny had gotten awfully close all of a sudden. I moved here for college? Madam Penny shook her head bemusedly, unused to hearing those words, that particular explanation. What, you mean that little bitty school the next town over in Hiltbolt? What's that place called? Cordwin College? That's the one, Kate said dryly, reaching for a cup of coffee. Huh, the older woman said. I'm not buying it. What's the real story? Grabbing Kate's wrist, she effectively forestalled the intended action of bringing cup to mouth. Huh? Kate asked, tugging her arm free. She wasn't sure if this Madam Penny was annoying or if her overly invasive conversational tactics were refreshing. After all, it was her first real dialogue in over 2 weeks. She supposed it was nice to talk to someone, no matter the subject matter, which was probably why she hadn't vacated her seat yet. No one moves here for that college. They don't even market outside a 30-mile radius of the campus. The only people that go there are as follows. Those that don't have the money for a big-name university. Those that have SAT scores too low for one. Or those that are preparing for their role as a town lifer. No offense, she persisted, but you, with your designer handbag, $500 haircut, and intellectual carriage, are none of those things. Kate smiled, remaining stubbornly silent. So, what's the real story? Madam Penny asked again, doggedly determined to have her own way. So that ends the excerpts. Again, I hope that you liked what you heard, and if you did, please check out my website, litlybear.com, and read the completed series, North of Happenstance. Thank you.